everybody get out here. Hey, could y'all cut that off? You know, what is that? We saying it doesn't really sound like a chainsaw.
That never bogs down, does it?
No.
Mix cement in that about 10 times.
Doesn't sound like they're ever doing anything to put it under load.
It's called a vent cleaner right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Jack. Delete.
I heard he's cleaning up the property.
All right, cool. And if anybody wants to, you can like live stream shit to Facebook group if you want to. I just ask that you do it to the group, not to the public, because that way we're keeping it in the family. All right, so Dave is going to be my helper here. We're going to actually do some work. Most of the materials are around the building. We'll probably end up bringing them over in buckets, even though that seems kind of crazy because this is not going to survive. We can use it to mix the stuff in. What we're going to do a soil mix that's going to go into these beds. But before that, we're going to put lava rock in there. We've got about 8 bags each. And what I'm going to have you guys do, because I can't have you all do it at once, I'm going to explain what it looks like, and then you guys can kind of come by in groups and go one to me and one to David, and we'll explain to you how this is working, what we're going to do, and then we'll just start building them. Okay, so this is going to be, right now it's kind of a little bit tacky looking, but it is going to be the thing when somebody comes and says, my wife won't let me do this because it looks ugly. This is going to look really pretty because it's all going to look like that and be stained and what have you, and this is all going to be facaded in. There's going to be at least 2 more of these. This is being the heart of this system. This is an aquaponics system. The heart of it is a 300-gallon Rubbermaid cattle stock tank. That's what's inside that box, and it's surrounded by dirt. That helps with thermal so that it's less likely to freeze completely over. You probably throw a stock tank heater in there and keep it running. We'll shut down the wicking beds during freezes, probably for most of the winter anyway. The beds we're building, I don't know where you can find more of these, but if you can find them, I would get them. We got these for 30 bucks a piece. Tribble Kirk, some of you guys know him. He was just driving around and found them. These used to hold molasses for cattle. They're fiberglass. This one has a leak. That's why it's sitting there. But since they're fiberglass, resin, Bondo, whatever, you can fix them easy enough. You can take an EDPM pond lighter and just drop a piece of pond liner in there. Since we're only going 7, 8 inches up with the water, it doesn't even matter if it leaks up at the top. It's just holding soil up there. We have 2 ebb and flow beds. They're built with 50-gallon Rubbermaid stock tanks on the back. You guys can look at that all you want on your own. Remember, only designated valve turners may turn valves, okay? So don't touch any valves. On both sides here, you'll see these kind of stubbed up pipes. Those are dry fit. If you kick them, they will spray water all over the place. Please don't.
That's when mockery happens.
Yes, yes. And the reason they're doing that is because right about where he's standing, right where Tim is, there's gonna be another bed and possibly 2 this way. I'm kind of married to symmetry with this. I kind of want to keep everything squared and Japanese and Zen-like. In these beds, David now is putting down a layer of weed blocker. And before he does that, let's grab one of these pipes. Some of you have already looked. This is cheap French drain pipe. And it cost me less money to take up some of that space with brand new French drain pipe than it would to do with lava rock, right? And I have a great big hole. See, you can see me through the hole, right? So what this is gonna do is make it very unlikely that we're ever gonna have a clogged system where water's not able to get through. Again, we're gonna be putting down a layer of the weed blocker on top of this. We're gonna do the layer, the layer of lava rock coming up to about 7 inches of depth. That gives us 14 of soil. Then we're gonna put down another layer of David's fancy schmancy weed blocker. Then we're gonna put down a layer of perlite, about 1 inch to 2 inches of perlite. Then we're gonna put our soil mix.
Grab that bag of perlite, please.
Yeah, you know where it is. And the soil mix we're gonna be putting in, that's where there's gonna be actually some work involved. We're gonna use 5-gallon buckets. I'm going to give a ratio of what we're doing. I want you to understand that I did not sit down and formulate, I want to do 10% lava sand and 13.25% of perlite and 60% compost. It's not like that. I'm not even exactly sure what I'm going to do. I know what I have to work with. We have expanded shale, we have perlite, we have compost, we have lava sand, and we have a bag of crappy stuff that Lowe's calls compost. It is not compost. It is very finely shredded pieces of wood. But we're gonna, I know what we're gonna use of that. We're gonna split it in half between the two. We're gonna mix that in. What I'm going to be doing as we mix this is I'm just going to, we'll mix it up and I'll kind of look at it and see how it, throw a little bit more expanded shell in there, throw a little lava sand, a little more, okay, yeah, that's where it's going to be. You do not have to use the stuff that I'm going to use. You can use anything you want as long as it works. If you use concrete, it will not work, so do not do that. But if you have, you can go out to Lowe's or Home Depot or wherever and buy big bags of organic potting soil and throw it in there. I do not recommend that you use conventional potting soil with conventional fertilizers and an aquaponics system because some of that stuff can go in and maybe mess with your fish. That said, when we built Miss Sauce's aquaponics system, she bought like Stay Green or whatever. We threw that shit in there, and as far as I know, it's doing great, right?
She's growing all kinds of illegal shit. I mean, she's making sure that nobody does it.
They legalized it in Tennessee now.
So, what I want you guys to do now is kind of break into two groups, maybe 5 or 6 at a time. Come take a look in. David will take one, I'll take the other. Kind of explain it a little bit more. Ask me any questions you have about it. Let's be brief on the questions.
From Jessica that way. Hook over there. Jessica, grab 6 people. You guys get about 7 of those bags of lava rock and take the jet. The lava rock at the bottom of the hole that looks like.
So you see exactly. That's going to be our media excluder. So somebody pull that pipe out. Just grab that pipe and move it. You got to pull it straight up. It's got it. Okay, so there's our overflow. And we do not have water in here now because if you throw lava rock on top of this pipe when there's a lot of water here, some of them will displace and come up above your lava rock, which kind of is not what we want to do. Go ahead, pull that off again, Steve. You can see, so I have that set to come up about, I think 7 inches at the top of the pipe, and that's higher. That is a collar. That's dry fit. All of that's dry fit. You can reach in there and pull the whole thing out and drain it. You can pull just that collar off and drop it down to be 6 instead of about 7.5 inches of height. In fact, that little black dot right there is 7 inches, so I'm holding about 8 with the collar on. So when we first set it up, we'll put that collar on, bring the water up higher to help prime the soil and get the soil nice and damp. Once that's done, you can drop it back down. If I decide I want it lower, you could reach in that media excluder, pull that pipe out, put a shorter pipe in. You want to bring it way up and soak the hell out of it, stick a little piece of pipe into the collar. That sets the level. As long as you can get back to where you're going, right? As long as you're high enough to hit return. It's 2-inch return lines, 1 1/4 overflow. My view on return lines in any aquatic system, aquaponics, aquatic, I don't care. No one ever says, gee, I wish my return lines were smaller, right? Yes, the pipe, 2-inch pipe costs about 3 times as much to install as 1-inch. And it gives you 50% less, or no, about 500% less headaches. And it's not twice as much space. I don't remember, something like 5 1/4 times more capacity in a 2-inch than a 1-inch. This just is plumbed in the ground. They run back over here and they're plumbed into that tank down low. And there's an intake screen so that fish can't swim up into the system. Nick did something really cool here too. You guys can see it later when you look over there, but he put these drains in for me. He did all that plumbing over there. There's a couple different valves, but basically that's so we can drain everything outside of that tank, all these pipes dry when there's a freeze. So we just open that and everything comes out. But if you turn one way and one the other way and turn it, you can actually take the supply line and push the supply line up through the return and clean out your return lines, which is kind of smart, even for Nick. I mean, that was pretty brilliant.
You sure Nick thought of that?
He did. He did. He was here and he wanted some work, so I gave him some work, and he's like, I'm going to show you what I did. He had it all dry fit, like this giant flux capacitor looking thing on my kitchen table, and I'm like, you know what? When I look at that, I go, why the hell didn't we always do that? That just makes perfect sense. Is there any questions about what we're doing or why we're doing it?
Do you care that the lava rock goes down into these?
Not at all, but we are putting this layer over.
Okay.
So this is going to be a layer on top of the pipe,
Right.
false floor, then the rock, then another layer of this, then your layer of perlite. We've built these where we've done nothing but throw lava rock in, throw a layer of perlite on, throw dirt on it, and when I've dug them up, it's perfectly suspended anyway. But this is just like how cheap of an insurance policy.
Well, I do have another question.
Okay.
Are all of these exactly the same height?
They are very damn close.
But you didn't worry about them being exact?
They are as close as I am capable of doing them.
Okay.
So what I did is I measured this one,
Yeah.
and I assumed that that's going to be pretty close because it's pretty flat.
Yeah.
And I did that one at the same height. I did not pull a level over to that side. They seem to be, when you look down the holes, the water tells you level. They seem like they're right about the same point. Then when I built this platform, I just had somebody hold a 2x4 up against the base there with me,
Yeah.
came over here, put a level on it, marked it with a Sharpie, and once I marked both sides, then I put that board in first, then you just pull that line around, and everything's level. These need to be level.
Yeah.
Is there a footer?
They're, yeah, JR buried them. They're half cinder blocks, dug down to the rock, right? And then I took about about that much expanded shale and put them inside the cinder block so there's good drainage under the piers, and then set that in there and just cheap saccrete. But yeah, so yeah, they're not going nowhere. That's the reason I did it that way. You can't dig deep enough here, right? It's like about that deep, and you're sitting on that flat slab rock. So now you're displacing instead of just the pier across that whole cinder block footprint on that rock. So they should be damn solid.
The posts are not sitting on there; they're down in it.
They're down in as far as they could go.
Yeah.
Not very far. I mean, if you kick the dirt off, you can see that the piers are right there. JR just piled the dirt up, so that got it out of the way.
Have you ever tried using perforated black poly pipe instead
It
of
works.
this?
We did it.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is cheaper.
I built in one.
This is
Built
cheaper.
some out of that.
I mean, that's the big thing. This is cheaper. And it's, when you're at Home Depot and you have a pipe cart, it's real easy to throw 10 sticks of this on it, where if you're trying big coils of that shit. Of course, my truck did look funny going down the road. It was the most redneck thing you've ever seen in your life, because I had about 5 sticks of this and a whole bunch of 2-inch and a whole bunch of 1.25 inch, and they were all shoved through my sliding window. And I got the pipe all the way up into the front seat, right next to my head. And then the pipe was all weird going out the back, and I'm like, it'll be all right. So let's go ahead and start getting lava rock in here. Let's try to make sure that we get this as well covered as we can. And yeah, I was gonna say, if anybody's got a knife on them, just cut a slot on both sides of the pipe.
If anybody does.
It's in. Just like that.
Yeah, just so you can put it around the pipe.
Hold that a second. Oh, you're already doing it?
No, I'm just holding it for
Oh,
you.
okay, good.
So you can get his finger.
That work?
That works good enough. It ain't got to be perfect.
See if we can, you want to set it down over it, Jack? Or
However you want to. You can't really mess it up.
let's see if we do that first.
I want to give people confidence
A little
to.
bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, we're kind of doubling it, but. And then you can just fold it back over itself is what you can do.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Just down over there. Oh, well, we're going to have to do
Another hole. Yeah.
Oh, that may not work, Jack, because it's going to be all bunched up over here.
That's all right. Just pull it around there and shove it down. If you're that worried about it, cut another piece off and throw it in there. I mean, that's good enough.
Is that good?
Yeah, because remember, this is lava rock next, then another layer of this. So we're not too concerned.
Okay.
So we can just start. A lot of people worry about the dust in this and shit. It doesn't do anything. It literally doesn't do. I've demiked. No. Just when I grabbed it, I pulled it off. Hatch, you still hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right.
What's all those young guys doing over there? Let's go. Here you go, Bruce. I'll just pump them up to you.
Okay.
Nobody cut nobody's hand. We've had one major cutting here, and we don't want another one.
Don't want to do that.
This is easy. This is so much easier than the last one I did. Okay, now just on that media excluder, just kind of be careful. We want to make sure we keep this fine. Just keep it straight. And as you take your media and come behind your down pipes so they stay straight.
That's it.
Let me behind you. Because it's easy to get it right, and it's a pain in the ass to fix when you get it wrong. There you go. That's beautiful. So now what we need is another layer of the weed blocker. Yep, right there.
He's got to come up with like 40 different projects.
Here's what we could do.
Yeah, right there.
Cut it, and then we'll double back and do it again. That's good enough. It'll go through. I'll get that out of the way for a minute. Hold on, I don't want to get sprayed in the face, but I probably will.
Picky.
There.
That when you use lava rock like this, you're going to turn your water red.
No, you won't.
Briefly. You got so much volume, it won't matter. When you guys are doing smaller systems, it's going to turn red. Don't
No, it won't. He worries too much about red.
You want this one to go over it again, or?
Yeah. Yeah, it's easy.
That landscaping fabric is where?
Right here, we'll have it for you in a second. We're doing our second layer. Steve's trying to cut somebody with a knife.
Yeah.
I know ultrasonic works based off the nitrification cycle. That's where you take ammonia.
Okay.
So you're not even worried about the part.
I'm not even worried. You could get by without even doing this, because now we're going to do a layer of perlite, wherever that is. Be careful with this stuff. It's kind of like volcanic ash. You do not want to breathe it in. So, fortunately, right now it's not windy. If it's windy, just wait. Just wait.
It's a mess.
What is that stuff made of?
It's some kind of a rock, and they puff it basically. So it's like really super light.
Aggregate they mine,
Yeah.
and then they pop it.
They heat it, and it.
I know it's scratch out of your lungs or something.
Yes. So one of your big things you want to do is make sure when you buy your big bag of this, don't talk while you're pouring it, make sure you get coarse.
Get what? Horse?
Coarse. I would move because it's blowing right at your face.
You guys want to do this for top of the lava rock? Are you done with it?
We're done. Nasty. So, like I did. About 1 inch to 2 inches. It's not real important. It gives us a really good, be careful how you're doing that. I think I need a little bit more. Yeah.
Don't breathe that dust, guys.
Yeah, watch out, Steve, while I pour this. And I got like 2 more big bags of this, so we're not. You ain't kidding.
How deep did you go with that, Jack?
About 1 inch to 2 inches, somewhere in that range. Just kind of hold your breath while you're working with it. And then get clear before you take a. Smells like freedom. Yep. Now the thing about this stuff is it's very good at picking up water. I mean, it will be a good catalyst to get the water up into the soil. So now we're gonna start doing soil. You guys about ready for soil too, David? Bucket brigade. So, shovels and buckets. Somebody grab those other 2 buckets. We're gonna, no we're not, but that, you could. I gotta go turn that water back on too. Okay, so. This is compost in this big tub right here. I want 2 buckets of compost, and then I want a half a bucket of the shale, and then about, I don't know, a couple shovelfuls of the sand. So, there was lots of shovels, but nobody brought them with them. So, get me about probably 2 shovelfuls of that lava sand. Maybe, yeah, it's about 2. It's gonna be heavy as shit because it's wet. Yeah. And then to that same bucket, add about 4 shovelfuls of this expanded shale.
All right, there's like 3 more shovels around. Somebody grab some shovels and we'll cheat.
And then we'll just go dump all this in the.
You want the half of that?
No, just leave that. We'll use that if we have to. I don't think we're gonna have to. That's about good. That's about good. So we'll take that bucket That bucket's gonna go to 2 buckets of compost. It's kind of a little unorganized, I'm sorry, but I only have so much space to mix. So you can go ahead and fill this one with compost. We know we're gonna need more of that. So let's take that back over here. Yeah.
2 buckets of compost.
2 buckets of compost to that 1 bucket right there. Once you guys see what we're doing, you can just kind of take initiative, but I want you to see what we're doing first. All right. Let's keep 1 shovel here.
You need another bucket of something?
Not yet.
Okay.
I want to see where we're ending up, and then we'll figure out exactly what we're doing. I don't have a planned ratio here. I want to get this mixed. I want to feel it and see it. I know we're going to need some of this. Home Depot lied. It ain't compost. So, since everybody took my shovels away. Yeah, use everything you want. Use leaves. Use oak leaves. Use.
Well, I have the guy that drops 10 yards at a time up front, so.
Where's the shovels, man? All right. So. It also is a good idea to put your compost in first so you don't have to bring the heavy aggregates up from the bottom. Yeah.
They weren't a full one.
Yeah, that's either one's fine. Yeah. All right, here. Set that aside then. What the hell are you doing?
Sorry for the knowledge that may have caused on camera. All right, let's
Look, don't breathe.
We'll get the shovels mixing up a bit. Throw it right on top of it.
Can you repeat the ingredients here?
All right.
Yeah, I will when I'm done. I don't want to talk while I'm doing this because the dust, once the dust is gone, I don't mind. You really should have a dust mask when you're doing this. Yeah, I don't like that.
Okay. I didn't know if we cut you up or something.
No.
Okay.
This is much easier. So, I'm also trying to, I'm feeling, yeah.
So you want to stay together, but not too much.
Yeah,
Is that right?
yeah. You also, this is different than soil you'd want in your garden because this is going to be pulling moisture through it. That's actually pretty damn good. This could use another bucket of compost though. So, do we have another bucket of compost?
All right, now let's.
Y'all can get lots of buckets if you want to because.
Good to go, man.
Well, you're not teaching them. You're just like, mix that shit and throw it in there. Now the see, we got to get that expanded shell mixed in there really good too. That expanded shell is also, it's a lot like perlite in a way. It is shale that's been puffed up. And that is very good at retaining moisture. A lot of landscapers use this. They just put down a layer and then they put mulch. And then that just gets, worms and stuff incorporated in your soil. It really lightens and helps soil get a lot of moisture. So that looks pretty good. Did we get the other bucket?
It's on its way.
On the way? We're gonna need a lot more.
And you're buying the expanded shell in bulk, I think.
Yeah, $90 a yard.
Pull it up. That's what I was saying.
And if I didn't have this, I would just use expanded shell for this. I'm using the perlite because we have it. Throw it in. Mix. Yeah. I appreciate the initiative.
So sorry.
Yeah. It wasn't a catastrophe. If you had started to mix it, that would have been like, oh!
That Spanish shale, does it only come in like that size?
It's expanded. Expanded. It comes bigger, but I've never seen it.
You can see it like that too.
A lot of people use the big stuff in aquaponic systems in the beds
Okay.
instead of lava rock. If I could get it, I would. What I do is I use lava rock to about that far from the top, and I cap it with that little expanded shale. It's so much nicer to plant in than it is lava rock.
My Home Depot.
I think that's pretty good.
Easier on the hands.
So you guys want to come in and kind of feel this. This is what I'm looking for. This is exactly, and as long as I get that, I'm happy. You can throw some microgreens in there, John.
Yeah, man.
You'd like it more.
Baby kale, that's the next thing.
Now this would be good for your baby kale.
And that's ready to wick, too.
Yeah, that's going to be beautiful. So I don't know if we can pick this up and dump it in there or not. I'm afraid if you try it, the bottom's going to fall out of it. So shovel it in. Let's move it over. I think we can handle that. God, I need a new one of these. We'll just not roll it. It rolls just fine. That's the one thing it still does do. I do think if we picked it up right now, it would just. If I had a shovel, that'd help. Excuse me. Dame un pala.
Whatever you want you're growing. Like if you're growing a carrot, which is kind of what I use for buckets bigger than your shovel.
We'll have to do another load of that. So get the same.
Does that work better for you?
I don't think so.
Same assortment. So we need like three buckets of compost and a bucket of shale and.
Okay, we'll go get started on the ingredients.
Now you might be able to lift it. Yeah, now I think it'll handle it.
No problems with dirt infiltration around the holes in your standpipe?
Well, we shouldn't have any. Don't put no dirt down the hole. You mean through the holes? Nah. A little bit will get in there, but.
Oh, did you take the pipe out? I've seen those socks for them, for the.
You can do that. I'm trying to figure out what can I.
The French drain socks?
What can I not do?
I just bought some of those to make a French drain. Imagine that.
Oh, this is going to be beautiful.
So you want this again?
Yeah.
To bring it up in height?
Yep. About the exact same we just did.
Would you have to if your thing wasn't as deep? Like, would it matter?
Well, for baby kale, this would be fine the way it is, right? Yeah. I'm doing this. Okay, so I'm going to be growing long-term crops, not short turnover crops. So if I don't have enough soil depth, what's going to happen? I'm going to have a lot more root infiltration down there. It's usually a good idea to throw like a cap over this.
We're looking at about 4 inches of soil depth before it hits water.
Right now you are.
Yeah, and then we're going to.
You're going to end up with about 14 inches of depth because this collar will get pulled off.
Okay.
That collar's adding 2 inches of rise.
Yep.
Just to prime this, though I don't know that it really needs to be primed. Yeah, really. It's so wet.
Yeah.
But it doesn't hurt to do. You start to develop a lot. It's not just that it's wet. You want, kind of that capillary action going on and actually making contact. Yeah, throw that in there. Look at that, nice and gooey. We might even be able to get one more bucket of compost in on that.
One more plus this one?
Yeah, one more compost, total. So just one more bucket of compost, and I think that'll do this load pretty good. It's much easier when it's not so wet.
No, that's why I'm just using bags of soil.
Yeah. You know what I would do? Get an old school cement mixer.
Yeah.
Just throw that shit in there, turn it on.
You go on Craigslist for $25 and get one off some guy whose wife just left him.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, David, make sure you're using some of this.
Yeah, one already went in.
Sorry.
You want one more?
David,
Did you get one more? Is that the? No more shell and sand. Not yet. They'll need it. They're slacking.
So wet those.
Best tools in the kitchen are the hands.
It's like making cookie dough, except for this won't kill me.
It's actually really easy to do a shovel when it's not soaking wet.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. I'm gonna mix this slowly with it as you guys go.
You just gotta get that bottom or the middle still.
Be careful, he's gonna get you in the face, man. That was a big old dowie lump that came up about a quarter inch from your nose, man.
Oh, sorry. Fair warning, I had no perception of anything around me.
You're used to working mostly alone.
That's all I do. It's weird to have people around.
Yeah. Yeah. We did about a third of a bucket of lava and about a half of a bucket of expanded shale.
Okay.
We get the shovel. Get right.
How's that feeling? It needs like,
There's still some. We have a flat one.
yeah, let's get it mixed before I decide, but I think it feels like it needs more lightning to me.
Square shovel or
We can either do, you know what, if somebody doesn't mind, go get a half a bucket of just the shale, not the sand. That's the light shit, you'll like it. Just the shale. And we'll throw a little bit more perlite in there too. Yeah, let's throw a little bit more of this in there too, John.
That aren't mixed in at all yet.
Yeah. So I'll make your job harder now. Actually, I'll make your job easier.
Yeah.
Because as this goes in, it actually does make everything easier.
Yeah, I love that stuff. When I started adding that to my soil, I couldn't believe how lighter.
Oh yeah, just carrying that shit.
They're smaller, but I think I can make it work.
No, we can start cycling. We're gonna end up having to get a garden hose though, and because we're fixing to take more water out of there than I think we really have. Because think of how much water these are gonna hold.
Now, are these going to be
Probably this 100 gallons? Yeah. Shit. That's close to 200 total. I'm thinking of what we're holding. We're probably holding close to 100 gallons each. Of water. So that's a 300 gallon tank. We're about to take 2/3 of it out of there.
Jack, are these going to be continuous flow?
Yeah.
When you're done,
Yeah.
right?
What I'm gonna actually do, right now I'm running two pumps on this system. I'm gonna put the pump that runs this running 15 minutes every hour. So it's only gonna run 6 hours a day total.
Okay, good.
But I don't wanna let it run 6 hours and then shut down for 18
Yeah.
because I'm afraid that during the summer, that water will heat up too much in there and then you're pushing it all back through. So I might even run on a different schedule, like during the heat of the summer, during the middle of the day, I might run it nonstop for 4 hours. And then go, because those little mechanical timers, you just push down the ones you don't want, you know?
Now, is there going to be a reservoir at that end that you pump back from? Or?
No, it's going back right now. Well, it will as soon as it fills up to the overflow.
Okay.
That overflow goes right back to that tank.
Back in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you look in here, where this one's already cycling,
Yeah.
you can see it just,
no sump.
no,
Oh, yeah.
technically the fish tank is the sump.
Okay,
It's going back here.
right.
Yeah.
So no fish tank. You have the sump.
Yeah. Oh, I love you, honey. You don't want me to use my hands right now.
I want you to use your hands.
You don't. You want to get chickens? All right.
That's cool. Did you see this part? So your fish are in the bottom, right?
Yeah.
How many you got in there?
Fish are in the bottom. Hold on. Too wet? Give me a minute. You think it's too loose? We might add a little more compost then.
Yeah, that's kind of wood. I don't know.
Let me see. Yeah. Yeah, we need a bucket of compost.
Excellent. I can't wait to stir that in.
Well, if you want, grab one of the pools. It'll be easier.
I don't care. It's fine.
All right. Yeah, I said one more bucket of compost. Yeah.
Maybe two.
Yeah, I don't know. It's so wet, it's hard to judge it.
Oh, okay. I didn't know about that. I guess.
Nah, it needs at least one more.
It's like all rocking.
Yeah. Is it actually uniform like that, or?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
We're pretty.
I said it might be easier, like we'll steal David's pool.
We're pretty thoroughly stirred. Yeah.
All right.
That might be easier.
You want to do that?
Yeah, why not? Especially if it's David's.
Yeah. I think you can dump it into the pool without breaking it. And I mean, that way you can just bring a shitload more compost and we'll mix it as much as we can till we can't put any more in.
Right.
And then whatever we don't need, they can take.
All right, so let's add that. Oh, you found more perlite that wasn't mixed in. Jesus. Well, that,
I think you can dump the wheelbarrow. That's what I'm saying. You can just back it up and dump it like a regular wheelbarrow. If it breaks, it breaks. It's done anyway.
he dies.
Yeah. It's on its last wheel. I kind of was hoping it would break. Yeah, probably 3 more buckets of compost. I overcalculated. Too many things going on.
2 more.
Yeah, 2 more.
Okay.
But this is much easier. David was right. Yeah, he knows he's right.
Something, you have little faith.
Something you have little faith, yeah. Yeah, at least 2 more buckets.
So where will this overflow into?
It doesn't overflow into anything.
Okay.
It is right now. It goes from there back to there, there back to there. That's all it is. Once we get this done, I'll kind of show you in the tank. Yeah. Just keep adding compost, it'll fix it. So they need a shitload over there yet, John. So we'll just keep adding it till you like it. Okay, don't make it a competition. Y'all ain't got to work that hard. It looks better. I still think it needs more compost. Yeah.
How's soil become hydrophobic?
It becomes so dry
Yeah.
that it doesn't want to become wet, basically. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. The only way for it to happen is it has to go bone dry.
Yeah. Nailed it.
Yeah.
I like ventured
Good
that
answer.
guess. I was like, pretty sure.
That's,
But
and it can happen to any soil, you know.
Yeah.
So you can think of it as a small natural system that gets pushed beyond its.
Yeah. Yeah, and it happens to compost piles all the time because people don't turn their compost piles, keep them wet. And you'll see it like pour rain for days. And you just pull the top of the compost. It looks soaking wet. You pull the top off, it's bone dry under there.
There we go.
The best thing you can do when that happens,
Now we're gonna add too much.
now don't add all of it at once. That's potting soil out of pots. So, oh, that's actually what's left of the compost, ain't it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hopefully it's enough then.
Sorry,
This is like a genius way to do it.
you're saying the best thing you could do?
Sets up the dirt in zone
With
7.
get a, it's called a soil wetting agent, and you basically mix it with like a, you know, in a watering can and water it with that wetting agent, and it'll break that surface. Because basically what's happening is creating surface tension, and the water just can't get in. It's like it's kind of like when you wax your car and you throw water on it beads. That's kind of what's going on. So the wetting agent will cause that beading to cease, and it'll actually penetrate. And once it starts, it goes. Yeah, throw it in there. We can always loosen it back up. We can always loosen it back up if we have to.
I actually have been told Don.
Because he needs,
the thing,
he still needs another 6 inches on his side. So
But I don't know. Well, yeah.
I was gonna say I didn't think all this was gonna fit in there.
yeah, they're bigger than you think they are. They're
That's all. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like somebody has a potted plant. Dawn.
Yeah, your Silver Creek is.
I really because I was like.
Is it Silver Creek?
compost and the shale. I like that. What do you think? Yeah, it's a little clayey now.
Beautiful thing.
What do you
So
think?
you're into it for like 12 months.
What do you think, Don Dowie? It might be a little too tight now. It's too tight.
I saw that coming. See, I get stuck on the red.
So you need more.
Perlite? No, we're not gonna use any more of that. No, that actually the sand weighs it down.
Yeah, I was so like, yeah.
The shale.
Yeah. Even that, I don't have remote access. I have to be there. Literally, yeah. I can control my whole grow room.
Where's a good shovel? I hate flat ones.
I have it. Yeah, well, I mean, not at my house. Yeah. It's a little bit different than I got hung up on the Raspberry Pi. I did it way too long. But it was too much money, too confusing. I ended up with just one outlet.
Yeah. Fucking just get an outlet and then you're done.
Yeah. Well, since you came in, at least when you came in, it was
Yeah.
now it is.
I'm like, why are you making this hard? You do not need a degree in computer fucking programming to turn a light on and off.
You could add more options.
Oh, sure.
Arduino. moisture sensor is usable. You hook it up once, and then if you decide you want to use it for something else, you just delete the program and reprogram it.
There we go. Look at that. Yeah. Yeah. Let's just mix. We get that mix and we're good.
I'm not savvy enough with that stuff to figure it out. I try. I'm like,
Just if you stick your hands down there while other people are shoveling, be careful.
yeah, I almost cut your finger off like twice.
There's a spot right here I didn't like.
There it is. All right. This is why we didn't want to mix it in there. Let me see here. Nobody cut my finger off.
You make the interface right. You got to make the interface.
I'm happy. Throw it in. Just watch it doesn't go down the standpipes.
I don't understand.
In fact, while you're doing that, why don't we just steal this?
You're not concerned about the small holes on
No, not at all. Not at all. It's just really wet. That's all right. It'll drain.
Probably not going to settle much.
No. Another thing you can do if you're mixing this stuff yourself and you want a really beautiful top dressing, throw 2 bags of organic potting soil on the top. It's like almost like you're mulching with it. How much more you want? I don't know. We need to make sure we have enough to mostly fill that one. I like to bring it almost to the top. Leave about an inch from the top.
Have you ever seen these stuff anywhere before?
Never.
Me neither.
No.
I don't know where you get them.
He got them somewhere. He goes. That guy fucking finds shit.
But he doesn't have any more now, does he?
I think he does. I think he bought all 40 of them.
Oh, you think he might want to sell them?
He might. Do you have his contact info?
No, what's his name?
Triple Kirk.
Triple
Like 3. Triple.
Creek?
Kirk. You know him.
I do.
He looks like Santa Claus. He always wears a goddamn safety vest when he's here.
Oh yeah, I've seen.
Oh, okay, yeah. All right, let's hold on this a second, because I think that's going to be enough. And we could go fill David's bed since he's over there dicking off.
I think he planned that ahead.
I'm sure he did. Whenever I'm doing hard work, he always shows up right when I finish. Actually, he's done so much shit for me. I mean, really. Especially stuff where I need work done where I can't fit.
Yeah, where you can't fit.
I can't fit. So I do fertilize. I do use some other amendments. I use charcoal. We're not going to do all that crap today because this is really wet too. I want to let this sit. But all the stuff I use is at heatspats.com.
Yeah.
It really is. It's also right in there. Dr. Earth. I'll go and I'll do Dr. Earth to where you basically cover it, the thin layer, and then just that. I don't want fertilizer all the way through here because you get a heavy rain event, you get a lot more of it in there. And I really don't want it in there, you know? Could somebody go grab that hose and bring it up here? Because we're going to have to add water. In fact, we should just be blowing that through until it gets up there.
That's already plumbed in to go back. Huh?
Yep. Yeah, I'm going to explain that after I...
Okay.
I don't want to put that in my fish tank.
Yeah, all right. What kind of fish do you have in that tank?
Just goldfish right now and minnows and a fuck ton of snails. That goes in here and it's plumbed into the sidewall with the bulkhead to this tank. And because that's higher, it just goes back. There's nothing else to it. In here... Oh, those cemented, yeah. That's just too much of a risk. Down in here where the 2-inch comes out, you get these at Home Depot, Lowe's for like $1. So that's just in the end of that piece of 2-inch so that fish don't swim up in there. When you do a new thing like this, some of your crap's gonna come through there, so you need to pull this out or it's gonna back up. We probably don't need to be running this full speed no more.
It's all the way up.
Is it overflowing?
Yeah. It's been overflowing.
And now you can see this side returning. Yeah, it's right there at the top. So even running full out like that, it was not overrunning the system. And that's back to A 2-inch return line is a hell of a return line. I mean, that's a lot of capacity coming back. So once Don Dowie gets this garden hose here, we'll get this filled up. You can see how much the level of this has dropped, and we haven't even filled David's yet. If you reach in here, and don't turn any valves, but if you reach in here, you put your hand, you can feel the return right here where it's coming out, and it's pretty forceful.
Which pipe is it? The lower one?
The lower one, the lowest one, yeah. But that does not set the level. The level is set by gravity.
How much water can you put in that before you have to mess with your system?
Nothing. I don't ever worry about it. I don't ever worry about getting out of balance or anything like that. It's just not. Once you get a system mature, the stability is in your bacterial colonies. Okay? That bacteria lives in those rocks. You can change your ass off on water. That bacterial colony's not changing. So now what helps me is I'm on a well. I don't have to worry about dechlorination or whatever. I can just throw a hose in there. If I do have the system starting to run away on me, let's say like stuff starts really getting out of whack, I can throw the garden hose in there and just run it for a couple hours and overflow it. And basically do a 100% water change with no work except making a flood. I mean, that's the only downside.
How much higher do you have to make sure that is compared to your aquaponics?
As long as this is 1 inch lower than there, it will return. Now, it won't return as fast. Right now, the top of this is just about the bottom of that tank. If you open everything up and you don't put those overflows on, you don't even put a bulkhead on, it won't even backflood into the tank. It'll be about that far down from the bottom. That is not by design, that is by luck. I was able to get this damn thing deep enough to make that happen. I mean, honestly, if I was at a normal place, I'd bury this daggone thing till it was just the rim sticking above the dirt. Because it's structural foam, it'll handle it. But that was it. That's as far as down as we could go.
But by lowering this, you can lower your infrastructure and all this
Yep.
other stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Now the nice thing is where this is like perfect. This is just excellent working height. I mean, you can't do better unless you're short. And honestly, once this is all finished to clean it up, I'm going to bring in a few yards of topsoil so this whole area will come up a couple inches.
Okay.
It's just easier to do all the work first and then do that.
Put a wide top on all of these and then have bar stools around all of them.
Yeah, well, that's kind of, yeah. Yeah. So these are all going to get facaded. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do it yet, but yeah, all the tops are going to be like this. So you're going to have like little tables, everybody can come out here and hang out. You know, and this is a nice place to sit when it ain't wet anyway.
Just to harvest.
Yeah. And so, yeah, while we're waiting for Dowie to find a garden hose, which apparently is complicated, he still failed. What?
Behind you.
Oh, okay. There was no end on it. Oh, you ran it from there.
From there, 'cause it was all
Okay,
around that
so
side as
it
well.
won't come on right now because there's a leak there. But it's fine.
I just thought,
It's all you got to do is right here.
Yeah, right
You're
there.
now designated. No, come here.
Yeah.
You're now designated valve turner.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good. So a designated valve turner. You can
Hook it
go
up over here and turn it
see
off.
see that the 3 pipes. See the one straight valve.
Yeah.
Go turn that on, and then that
one
one will
going
come
into
on.
the ground?
Yeah. That cuts off that leg. Instead of fixing it, I just shut it off.
So our time for this session
That is another thing on my list of things to do is a greenhouse.
have a panel discussion in half an hour where if you have questions about that, that would be great to and everybody who's showing up on a panel free to ask questions, and we're reconvening in half an hour at 3 o'clock.
And you guys don't have to leave yet. We're just not officially in session. I was going to talk a little bit about these ebb and flow beds if anybody's interested.
Inside?
Did you turn it on?
Inside,
Go turn it on.
of course, you can.
Hey, David. David, open your valve and fill that.
Sitting out on the counter in here is macadamia nut meat. There's a sample for everybody. If you go in, when you come back out, you got questions, try a little bit of meat. It's about that time to start loosening up so you can ask better questions.
So, if you guys want to look, this is about the speed I like to run my water.
Could you identify what plants are in here so people know what they're looking at?
We'll try to do that. Yeah, John's got water going, so that's good. So, most of this is Taiwan water spinach. It's also known as Ipamera aquatica, anchoy, whatever you want to call it. It's a member of the sweet potato family, but it does not produce sweet potato tubers of any kind. That's why you notice the flowers look very sweet potato-like. We love this stuff. It's highly illegal to grow because it's considered an invasive species. There's like 3 different ways you can interpret the law in Texas. I've chosen to interpret it the way that makes it okay for me to do this. But because it says you can possess it, and you need a permit to grow it commercially. Well, I possess it and I'm not growing it commercially. It is really no threat in our ecosystem here. It cannot survive our winters. If you were in Houston, you could create an environmental catastrophe with this because it can make it through their winters, and you see how it grows, so it could choke out water systems. This is another one you're not supposed to grow in Texas. This is water celery, and it actually, you guys can taste it if you want to. The leaves, you eat it, and you're like, what the hell is that? Like, I know that taste, and you can't place it, and then you realize it's horseradish without the heat. When you swallow it, you get this horseradish aftertaste, but there's no heat. The leaves you can eat, but most people, what they do is they eat the stems. So you de-leaf the stems, and you just really quick light saute it. It's really, really good. These are green onions.
What do you do with the ipomoea?
Oh, this is a green. You cook green, and you can eat the leaves, and you can eat the stalks.
Okay.
The stalks, when they get really big, you want to cook them a little longer. So what I do when I do the ipomoea aquatica, I separate the leaves and the stems. I throw the stems in the pan first. I saute them to like a nice bright green, maybe taste them, make sure it's gotten tender. Throw the leaves in just like 10 seconds, the leaves wilt like spinach. And the leaves taste exactly like spinach. And these are kind of like, the stems are like eating green beans that taste like spinach. So that's pretty awesome. All this is just green onions back through here. And we just buy green onions at the store and just stick the tips in here. Or what I started doing is instead of putting the tips in there, I bring the bunches of green onions home and stick them straight in there. And don't cut them for a couple weeks. And that way they have a lot more energy and they build up. And if you do that, you can cut them like probably 10 times before they stop growing. Tomatillos, and they're not doing really well. This system was planted long before it was ready to support being planted. When you plant into those beds we just built, you can start that. You don't have to have a fish. You could plumb that to a rain barrel and just do it static instead of flow through. It doesn't matter, it's soil, you can fertilize it. These ebb and flow beds are getting 100% of their nutrient from that water. So this was all planted before the fish were really established and whatever. And there's like, I think there's like 50 9-cent PetSmart goldfish in there and a couple dipfuls of the mosquito fish out of the other tank and thrown in there.
Is that 100% lava rock with mulch?
It's lava rock, and that expanded shell we used, the last 2 inches is expanded shell.
Okay.
If you fill your wicking bed with this, first it will cost you a lot of money, and then in a week it will clog and have problems. If you use it only as a top dressing, it's easy to plant, and you know, it really doesn't have too much trouble. Every once in a while you might have to pull the top layer off, hose it off, and throw it back in. Maybe do that in your winter maintenance. In here, if you look, you'll actually see celery, and these are just celery hearts. So we buy a big bunch of celery, pull all the outside off. Instead of cutting it, pull the outside and leave your about like last 3 stalks. I know they're really the best tasting ones, but just stick them in there and they just start growing. And you get a much stronger celery. If you look how dark green this is, and you get a lot of flavor. So it's really not the best celery to put peanut butter on, but for cooking, this stuff is the bomb. The leaves, the stalks, everything. I don't know what else is in here. I'll show you David's new siphon. I think this is killer what he's done. So here's an old school bell siphon. This is what everybody builds on YouTube or whatever. And you've got your stand-up pipe on the inside. That sits down over it. When that water starts overflowing to stand up, it creates a siphon, like putting a finger on a straw, and it starts pulling water. So even though that thing's way up there, when the water level's there, it keeps pulling, and it'll dump that whole tank really, really fast. When that water level gets down to one of these holes, one little bit of oxygen gets in there, breaks the siphon. That's the theory. But a lot of times you get a lot of trouble with them catching, and they'll be stuck at the bottom. Stuck at the bottom is bad in the summer because you got your water level there and it won't fill back up. Stuck at the top is bad because you don't get any oxygen to your roots. So this works. I mean, we've used them for years. You know, sometimes you have to make a second one to get it to work right. The more holes, the better. Try to have all your holes at the same level because that way one of them is going to get enough air in there to break it. But what David came up with, and I think this is just freaking brilliant, is instead of putting that, so these are built a lot like that. There's a big 4-inch piece of pipe that goes all the way down inside there, and that keeps all this dirt, all this rock from coming in on that overflow pipe, just like it does there. But what he did is put a second down pipe and build this. So now this is where you get your break, since this is higher than this. If I decide I want to short cycle them, let's say it's early spring and I want to get my roots established really well, then I can just go ahead and replace that with a piece of pipe right there. And it's only going to flow that much back and forth. And then when those first plants get rooted, then I can stick this piece back on and then start dropping it all the way, and that'll drive their roots deeper into the bed. What's that? The shorter this pipe, then this sets the bottom. So if you did it right here, you're really only cycling that much. That water's gonna stay that deep. And it's only gonna go like this. So you could do that. A thing that you would do that with, water chestnut. You wanna grow water chestnut, they love being in the water, but you still want some cycling going on. So if you planted a bed of water chestnut, you'd wanna just do that. The other thing you do with water chestnut is you don't need a bell siphon. What you do is you just set your overflow at the height you wanna maintain and just run a constant flow media bed instead of so it's exactly like that, only you're gonna hold the water higher. You can do that to get seeds started. And once the seeds are started, because you can put seeds straight in here, you don't have to start plants. And once it starts getting to where you want, then go ahead and drop your siphon in and it'll start cycling for you. Because people say you can't do direct seeding. You guys can come around here and look, there's freaking basil everywhere in here. It's Dowie quality microgreens. But check this out, this is what I love about aquaponics. Look at the roots on that little plant. That's gotta be good. I mean, there's chives in here. There's a tomato that somehow survived the summer. I'm not sure where it, went. No, you would never use wood mulch on an ebb and flow bed because you're going to create organic matter in there, and that's what creates plug ups and stuff like that. In fact, I didn't have that one cycling. Yes. Yeah, but not here. Right now I've actually got some backup in this bed. And what this system really needs is a solid separator of some kind. I gotta figure out how to engineer it and make it look, remember I want this to be pretty. If you're gonna do a gravity solid separator, it needs to be higher. So then you bring your water into the separator and then you let it go down into your thing. So you perfectly would just put a canister here. Just fill it with a bunch of like foam matting or something like that. Once every 3 or 4 weeks, pull it out, hose it off, and stick it back in there. And that's all you got to do to prevent this from happening, because this is buildup. There's a worm. And so the other thing you can do is, like, this bed's about done for the year, so I can clean it out, shut it off, and maybe come out and fill it up manually and let it dump once every couple days to keep it wet, moist, and the worms will eat most of that shit out of there.
So you chop and drop that?
What's that? They're great. There's really not a place here for one. I have one in the greenhouse. The center of that system it's not really a swirl filter. It's more of a sediment separator. David built it. It's got a plate in the bottom that's shaped like this. The pump sits on top of that. Your water returns to the bottom. It comes up and hits that and keeps falling down. And then the water comes up around the plate back into the pump. It works. It comes out like black ink when you empty it. But I still have beds getting solids in them out there, so. Oh yeah, yeah, dilute it. I mean, it smells like ass when you open that thing up. So, guys, we're gonna be here a long time. We can come back out here and talk because we gotta do a panel discussion here, and I gotta get ready for that. But. Oh, okay, good.